This September 17th picks edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code MLB SGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Monday, the 16th of September. We are here to handicap all the main action for Tuesday, the 17th. Joining me is OG, Mr. Munaf Manji. Eminem, how you doing?
Doing well, Mal. Glad to be here with you. Another week of baseball in the books. About 2 weeks left, maybe a little bit less, with regular season play, and then I can't wait for the playoffs. I think it's going to be a lot of fun this year. But again, still things to be determined in the wild card races. I know the NL West division is still up for grabs. A couple other divisions here as well. But yeah, we're just chugging along, inching our way to the finish line, my man.
Yeah, I think round about 13 games left for most of the teams. But actually, for the first time today, I started thinking about the playoffs. And you're right, it's exciting. There's going to be some good matchups because there's some fun teams. I'm looking at teams like, I know I bet them recently, but the Mets and the Padres, just teams that are absolutely capable of springing upsets. It's not going to be straightforward. It's going to be mayhem. And that's exactly what we're here for. Trev joined us in the chat. TVDBJ is first in. Anybody else, if you are in the comments live watching on YouTube, by all means, pop your head up and say hello and give us a few picks as well. So, yeah, just roundabout, there's a full card tomorrow, but as we have been doing over the last couple of weeks, there's a couple of series. I mean, I'm not sure anyone particularly wants us to go to the White Sox and the Angels tomorrow, stuff like that. There's a couple of absolute clunkers. So we're going to stick to the main stuff, but there's some good series this week. It was a fun weekend, so we'll cover the main talking points team by team when we get to them. And we'll start tomorrow with a 6:35 Eastern first pitch between the San Francisco Giants and the Baltimore Orioles, where left-handed pitcher Blake Snell will go for the Giants, and Albert Suarez is the starter for Baltimore. This is close on the books. It's virtually a match. -106 Baltimore. The Giants are at -110, and the total is at 7.5. The Giants made some news over the weekend. One of my guys, Helio Ramos, the first ever right-handed hitter to hit a splashdown home run into McCovey Cove. It's never been done by a righty before at Oracle Park in 40 years, I think.
That's wild.
So that's a great thing for him to be able to tell his grandkids. That was excellent. And Munaf, I got a Baltimore stat here. This is a playoff-related Baltimore, so certainly one that we can take into the playoffs, should they make it. Baltimore have not won a series against a team with a better than 500 record since June the 4th, Munaf.
Wow.
That's a long time to not... Yeah, exactly. So what does that tell you? Get them in the playoffs and you fade them. That's them done. They're gone. So we remember that in a couple of weeks when I'm trying to make a case for Baltimore. Remind me of that stat. Yeah, Baltimore have been really disappointing. And they face Blake Snell tomorrow here. Blake Snell, he's got a bit of an odd game log, Snell, when you look at it, because there's a 1-inning effort and a 3-inning effort in his last 5 starts, although they've kind of been more circumstance, I would say, because he has been pitching well, and crucially, the Giants win his starts. 8 of his last 9 games, the Giants have managed to come away with a W. And look at the scores in those games as well. 4-1, 3-0, 4-2, 4-3, 3-1, 3-2. Exactly as you'd picture a Giants win. If you were to just sort of wake up and say, how did they get on? They probably won 3-1. Well, you were right. So if you want Snell or you want the Giants, it's close and low scoring. Albert Suarez, largely consistent. There's an outlier of a game against the White Sox in there, but he's been fine. He's been good at home as well, 3.23 ERA. Baltimore are really spluttering towards the finish line, I think. And I do think Baltimore will be disappointed in themselves with how this season's turned out. They are 3 games back now. I had them down as... Let's have a quick check.
For the division or the wild card?
Oh yeah, 3 games. Yeah, sorry, that's it. I've wrote them both numbers out. Yeah, 3 games back for the division, but they do have a nice 4.5 game wild card lead. But I think they would have expected better. Certainly midway through the season, they were going particularly well. 4.1 runs per game in the last 30 days for Baltimore, hitting 215. The Giants are only hitting 216 in the same span. Both bullpens are good. Like Snell, I've just reeled off that list of unders for Blake Snell. I'm going to take the under. Similar scoreline here. I'm going to take the under 7.5, Munaf.
Yeah, I think that, you mentioned that if you think that Blake Snell is going to go along well here, and if you think the Giants are going to win, I think it's a little correlated towards the under, right? But you take a look at Blake Snell's last 5 starts. I think that maybe it was a weather thing with that Arizona game where he only went 1 inning, and then 3 innings against the Seattle Mariners as well. But other than that, he hasn't allowed. He's allowed, I should say, a total of 6 earned runs over his last 5 starts. And we know the strikeout numbers are always going to be there for Blake Snell there. So I know I just can't get with this Baltimore team. I don't know, like you mentioned, right? They haven't been able to win against the better competition. Albert Suarez, like you mentioned, he had that 1 bad start in there against the Chicago White Sox, but that he's been pretty solid. I look at a first 5 under in this game. Maybe you get a 4 there, but I couldn't talk you off of the full game under. I like you mentioned there, Mal. So I agree with you. Under 7.5. I'd lean towards the Giants here, but I agree with you. My favorite play would be the under 7.5.
Okay, so a team ride there on the under. SGPN continue to wage war against corporate gambling, and you need to help us by take a couple of seconds to rate and review our show, and indeed every other show or the Premier League show. Tell a friend. Word of mouth is the heartbeat very much of SGPN. Tyson and Gio joined us in the chat, boys. Welcome. How we doing? 6:40 Eastern first pitch is the Minnesota Twins at the Cleveland Guardians. Zebby Matthews will go for the Twins, and it is Gavin Williams for the Guardians. -118 Cleveland. Even money +100 for the Twins. Total Munaf is 8.5.
Yeah, you mentioned Zebby Matthews is pitching. That's something that all I need to know. Let's start with Zebby Matthews here, right? I mean, there was flashes early where he was pitching and he looked comparable, I guess we could say. There was just 1 start in there against the Toronto Blue Jays where he got absolutely lit up. 2 innings, 9 earned runs. Followed that up with 4 earned runs in 5 innings against the Royals. His last start, he only lasted 3 1/3, gave up 2 earned runs to the Angels, but fortunately for the Twins, they were able to win that game behind the success of the offense. I know that he's going to give up a couple runs here, maybe even more than that, to say the least. He hasn't faced the Guardians so far this season, but he's just in really bad form right now, right? This season numbers are 1-3 with a 7.11 ERA. The alarming part is that he has a 1.66 whip, and I think that's where I get concerned, meaning that he's letting base runners on. He's getting a lot of hits as well. And maybe that number is a little inflated because of what happened against Toronto there. But even like I mentioned, after that, he gave it up. Gavin Williams has been a guy that I think that was his last start where he had settled in for this Guardians team. 5 1/3, 3 earned runs, 5 strikeouts against the Rays. He's made, I believe, 2 starts this season against the Twins, Mal, and he's 2-0 with a 1.50 ERA. I'm sorry. So that was back on August 10th. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. That was a victory there for the Guardians. They won that game 2-1 in Minnesota. And then he had 2 appearances last season as well against this Twins team, and they were very, very successful outings, especially the start that he had 5 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned run he gave up in that game. There was the notion of Gavin Williams at home where he hadn't won a start yet for the Cleveland Guardians, Mal. So let me just double check that. But I believe that I have the better pitcher in Gavin Williams here. This is going to be a fun matchup, obviously, for not only for the AL Central, but also, we talk about the wild card race there as well. So I like the Guardian side here. Now, it's still the fact that Gavin Williams hasn't won a home start yet for the Guardians. 0-6 on the run line, 4-2 towards the under. So if there's a pitcher that the Guardians can get to, it's definitely Zebby Matthews here. I'll lean here with the Guardians here, Mal. Maybe a team total under for the Twins as well, just because of how successful Gavin Williams has been in his young career against the Twins. So I'll lean with the Guardians.
I haven't had a chance to handicap Zebby Matthews on the show. The nights I've been doing aren't the nights he's been pitching. Because I remember he made his debut. I did a little YouTube short that day and talked him up a little bit, and he did well, and he won. But I don't think the Twins, I think the Twins have let him down a little bit. I think there's a general feeling around baseball as well that he's kind of slightly been hung out to dry. They haven't put him in good spots. They've just pitched him because they've had to, and not really ideal for the young lad. He's very occasionally flashed strikeout potential. He gets some strikeouts, but I just don't want to bet him. Not in this situation. I think he deserves a little bit better, in all honesty. Gavin Williams' numbers are horrible, but
yeah.
He only lasted 2 outs last time against the Dodgers, gave up 5 earned runs, but he's got a few better starts dotted about, Munaf. Neither offense is great. The Cleveland bullpen is fine. Class A knocked up his 45th save yesterday, which is a personal best for him. The little combination of, you gave out the whip, didn't you? Was it 1.66 for Zebby Matthews? And right. Cleveland don't strike out. Still, Cleveland's strikeout numbers are way down. I think they can work Matthews hard tomorrow. With that bullpen, Cleveland at -118 is a good price, Munaf. So Williams might not even get the win, but Cleveland could get it done. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. I'll take Cleveland on the money line. 6:40 Eastern first pitch is the Atlanta Braves at the Cincinnati Reds. Atlanta are officially TBD. You just alerted me to the fact we think it's Grant Holmes that will pitch for Atlanta, probably as an opener. Brandon Williamson, left-handed pitcher for Cincinnati. Another close one on the books. The Reds are even money. Holmes and the Braves are -118, and the total is 9. So, yeah, Grant Holmes... what's he going in 2/3 is about his longest start. He's been okay. And that's about all. I don't know who's going to follow him, whether it's just a classic bullpen day for the Braves. Braves continue to just be unreliable on all sides of the ball. They gave up 7 runs in the 9th inning last night against the Dodgers. Dodgers went back to back to back and turned a win into a loss for the Braves. Brandon Williamson, I quite like. 3 starts this year, been out injured. 13 innings pitched with a 2.08 ERA, so he's been in control. His career, 130 innings with a 4.22 ERA. That's about right for what Brandon Williamson does. The Braves are decent against left-handed pitching, so this could be a shootout. But I'm just going to give Cincinnati a chance. I think I just can't trust the Braves. I saw them coming off that loss again last night. Grant Holmes in the bullpen. There's nothing to encourage you, really, to take the Braves on. Give me the Reds, Munaf. Let's have a little go at Cincinnati.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off. It's the fact that how much do you really trust the Braves? And you mentioned that it's just been so unreliable. There's nights where we've mentioned that their offense looks like it was in form last year, and then there's just nights or games where they only muster up 1 to 2 hits. And I think that now what we saw with the bullpen as well. Like you mentioned, I think that's also concerning there as well. I did see Ozzy Albies is going to start getting some rehab assignments here for the Braves, so maybe he'll be back sooner rather than later for this Braves team. But I'm just looking at the standings right now. Obviously, they're out of the division race in the NL East. But you take a look at the wild card race. I mean, it's very tight up there with 4 teams. I mean, only maybe one of the Mets or the Braves are going to make it. So one of those AL East teams are going to make it. So I'm not sure what to expect from the pitching rotation, right? What you mentioned. And Brandon Williamson, the 3 starts that he has made or this season, he's been pretty good. He's only allowed 1 earned run each in the 3 appearances that he's had. That was against the Brewers, the Mets, and the Cardinals here. So I think this might be a good spot here for the Reds. I'll take them on the money line with you here. Again, I just don't know what I'm going to expect from this Braves team, both on the pitching and offense side, and that's a huge red flag there. So Reds money line for me as well.
Ellie De La Cruz made it to 201 strikeouts yesterday for Cincinnati. That's a good effort. Man, he's got a little Javi Baez thing going on. Underdog Fantasy, Pick'em is a great way to play your NFL. They will always add to that awesome menu. You've got college football, MLB, MMA on there as well. Loads of profit boosts, no sweat entries. Use our code MLB SGPN and you can claim a special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MLB SGPN. Next up is a 6:40 Eastern first pitch between the LA Dodgers and the Miami Marlins. The Dodgers are officially TBD, but we reckon it's Bobby Miller who'll go for the Dodgers. And for the Marlins, it will be Darren, how are we pronouncing this, Munaf? Darren McCorkin, Darren McCoffin, Darren McCorn, Darren McCocken will go for, something like that, for the Marlins, who are plus 154. The Dodgers are minus 184, and the total sits at 9.5. Munaf, lead us off. Do you know much about Darren McCoffin?
Not a lot. I feel like me and Dylan talked about him last week when we did the show. He's going to give up the runs. We know that much for sure. And anytime I see Bobby Miller, that's going to be out there for the Dodgers. I'm always thinking over because he's also a pitcher that will give up home runs to the opposition and runs in general as well. So let's start here with Bobby Miller, obviously not having the greatest of seasons. Last start, which was against the Chicago Cubs, only lasted a 4 1/3 against, gave up 6 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, 4 walks. The walks are the huge concern about Bobby Miller, and he's allowed 13 earned runs combined over his last 2 starts to the Angels and the Cubs, which was in a 9 1/3 inning. And then we saw Darren McCoffin, or we'll call him McCoffin. Yeah, we'll just go with McCoffin for now. Apologies if they are listening to the show or saying your name wrong. But his last couple starts, Mal, he's also given up runs, right? His ceiling seems like it's about 5 innings here, Mal. So he's given up about 2 earned runs, 3 earned runs in that span, which kind of leads me to the over in this game. I think this is a good opportunity here for both of these batting lineups to get to the opposing pitcher. If you want to go first 5 innings, if you want to go full game, if you're able to find a 9 out there, I would definitely take the over. Believe it or not, this season, Mal, the Marlins have been one of the more profitable teams towards the over. And I'm trying to put up the exact number in their home games for the Miami Marlins. 51, 19, and 5 to the over, Mal. So that's 72.9%. So if you came into the season just blindly bet the over in all of Marlins home games, you'd be a very, very rich man right now. And then in particular, in that first game of a series at home for the Marlins, 15, 7, and 2, a slightly less of a percentage towards the over, but still firing at 68%. So if the 9 is out there, definitely shop around, but I love the over 9 in this game here, Mel.
Yeah, Bobby Miller is broken at the moment. I feel a little bit sorry for him. The fact that they've got no one to replace him in that rotation because he really shouldn't be there. The Dodgers have used 16 different starting pitchers this season. 16. That's an incredible number. Especially, bear in mind, you'd expect a team like that to be 4th or 5th in the division, not where they are. But yeah, there's been no improvement since he came back from the IL. I mean, he might get fixed over the winter. He might come back next year. He might be absolutely great. But at the minute, you've got to try and take advantage of him being rubbish. So McCuffin has appeared in 13 games, has now started 4 of them. And the results have been okay. 3-2 and 3 earned runs in his last 3, goes 4 or 5 innings. Miami have won all 3 of those, including a 9-5 effort against the Phillies. And here's the thing, the stat I picked out was that Miami are quite serviceable against right-handers. They're 44 and 51, which isn't terrible. Like, bear in mind, they're an astonishing 11 and 44 against left-handed pitching. So actually, they're not a bad team. Like, they're in the below average, but they're in the glob of teams against righties. It's only against lefties where they absolutely fall off a cliff. So yeah, I think they're live here. Risky taking on this ridiculous Dodgers lineup, but I'm going to take Miami at plus 154. Next up is a 7:40 Eastern first pitch between the Detroit Tigers and the Kansas City Royals. It is Casey Mize for the Tigers. Left-handed pitcher Cole Reagans goes for the Royals. The Tigers are plus 132. Kansas City minus 156. And the total sits at 8.5. Update on the Cole Reagan strikeout bet, my 80-1. He's 8 behind Munaf. He's got a chance, but I think it's a bit of a long shot. Chris Sale keeps rolling out 6 and 7. And then Dylan Cease keeps getting in the way as well. So I'm not out of it, but I need a couple of things to go my way. Detroit have got the best record in MLB since August the 11th, Munaf. 22 and 10 since August the 11th. And bear in mind, they traded away Jack Flaherty as well. So they traded away the best pitcher and have had the best record in MLB. They're 2.5 games behind Minnesota now. They've been using openers a ton, and the bullpen's been outstanding. Bo Brisky, who's been opening, Foley and Holden have all been great. And Mize has been steady away as well. You get a very nice average line out of him, basically. You get 4 or 5 innings, 3 or 4 earned runs. I mean, he's got a 5.05 road ERA, and his last 2 starts aren't quite as sharp. He has struggled against the El Central opposition as well. Reagan's largely fine. Has pitched well against Detroit in his career, 2.89 ERA. Pitched well against the Yankees last time in a tricky spot. 6 scoreless, actually, in Yankee Stadium. 6 scoreless was against Minnesota the time before that. Now, both teams are still battling. Both teams are playing well. But I think the Royals just edge most of the key categories here. 12-5 and 1 in the first 5 against righties over the last 30 days. 12 and 6 straight up in those games as well. So, yeah, minus 156, it would be the unit and a half play. I love what the Tigers have been doing. But I just think the Royals have got the edge in this one. I'll take Kansas City, Muna.
Yeah, Casey Mize hasn't been too great in his career against the Royals either. And Cole Reagans has been great against the Tigers in his career. 2-1 with a 2.81 ERA. Reagans has faced the Tigers twice this season, 6 shutout innings back on May 22nd. Most recent one was on August 2nd in Detroit, 5 2/3, 4 earned runs. The walks are a concern for Reagans, but again, I think that comes with the territory when you talk about these strikeout pitchers, the Blake Snells of the world. But I think it's a good spot here for the Royals with Cole Reagans. I was just looking at the standings here, Mal. I know TV DBJ mentioning it there as well for Kansas City Royals in the division. They're 4 games out of the Guardians in the division, and in the wild card, you take a look at it. The Tigers 2.5 games behind Minnesota, and then the Kansas City Royals have a 2.5 game lead over the Twins for that over that 3rd spot right now. So big series, honestly, for both teams, right? I think that if the Royals are able to take care of business here in this series, that they could creep in on the Guardians there. But I do like Cole Reagans on the mound here at home here for the Royals, so I'm on the Royals side here with you.
If you could knock up 22 strikeouts, I'd be over the moon with that as well. 7:40 Eastern first pitch. Or am I going to forget the Mets? What time are they going off? I already have forgot. Oh, man, I've done it again. I haven't done that for a while, Munaf. An old favourite. 7:10 Eastern first pitch. is the Washington Nationals at the New York Mets. Left-handed pitcher Mitchell Parker for the Nationals, and taking the ball for the New York Mets will be Tyler McGill, who are minus 162 favourites. Parker and the Nationals plus 136. Total Munaf is 7.5.
Yeah, Mitchell Parker, like you mentioned, going to start here for the Nationals on the season, 6-9 with a 4.24 ERA. His last start was really good, which was against the Miami Marlins, 6 1/3, 0 earned run, 5 strikeouts. He has faced this Mets team, I want to say this season. Let me see if I can pull that up here. But yeah, against the Mets this season was his start back on July 3rd. Wasn't a very good outing for him. 6 innings, 5 earned runs he gave up in that game. He allowed 5 hits. 3 of those left the ballpark from Mitchell Parker there. And again, you take a look at his home road splits thus far this season. On the road, he is 1-5 with a 6.25 ERA. And at home, 5-4 with a 2.81 ERA. So a big 9-day difference for Mitchell Parker there. Tyler McGill here again the start for the New York Mets. On the season for him, 3-5 with a 4.48 ERA. Coming off a great start against the Toronto Blue Jays, 6 shutout innings. He had 9 strikeouts in that game. And prior to that, he'd been pretty good. I mean, yeah, he went up against the White Sox, 5 1/3, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. He had 4 innings pitched, 3 earned runs against the Boston Red Sox in that game. So I do feel like Tyler McGill's in pretty good form right now. I'm a guy that is 6'7". So I'm going to fade Mitchell Parker here, especially when we talked about his home and road splits here, Mal. And again, the Mets need every game if they're going to, we talked about it with the Braves, right? So if they want to get that wild card spot. So Mets team total over would be a look here. Maybe if we're going to go Mets on the run line, I think that's worth a look here as well. That's at -1.5 around plus 140 currently over on FanDuel. So it'll be Mets in every which way here for me, at least against Mitchell Parker here, Mal.
Yeah, just a bit of news on the Mets, which I've seen in the last hour or so, is Francisco Lindor's back MRI. Obviously came out the game a couple of times over the weekend. He reckons 3 to 5 days. That's from Lindor himself. He said it might be 3 days, might be 5, but doesn't look too bad. Hopefully that's not kidology, and indeed Lindor will be back. As we just said last week, the Mets very much go as Lindor goes. The Mets could have swept Philly at the weekend. They gave it up last night, JT Realmuto walk-off. But the Mets could have easily gone into Philly and come away with a sweep. Mitchell Parker, going along all right. 27 games he started now at 24 years old. He's done really well. 4.24 ERA, holding his form. But he's got a big old home road split, Munaf. 281 at home, 625 on the road. You're absolutely right. Tyler McGill's a dog, you know. The Mets keep turning to him when they need a starter, and he just doesn't let them down. He set them up for wins in his last 3 starts. 4.26 home ERA is about right for him. But that's been good enough because the Mets are scoring plenty of runs, 4.7 runs per game recently. The bullpen ERA is 3.38 over the last month. That's fine. I think the Mets will win. And the Mets are 15-10, covering the handicap in the last 25 games. I got the same pick as you, Munaf, at that price. Plus 140 for a New York Mets run line was the play that I got to. BetUS, one of our new sponsors here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and delighted to have them along. BetUS has been around for over 40 years, available in tons of locations, including internationally, and BetUS just launched an all-new live betting experience. You can deposit using cryptocurrency, that's no good to me, and get lightning fast payouts. Use our link to sign up and get a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits. That's some offer, that, by the way. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN, so they know that we sent you. BetUS is America's favourite sportsbook and one of our favourite partners, Rhythm, the AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models. Rhythm was all over NFL Week 2. I'm glad somebody was. 22.5% ROI on the spreads, and 44.3% ROI on NFL moneyline bets. Need to look into that because everyone was miles away except Rhythm. Build your own model or use one of the top performing models. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHM. Yeah, I was very quick to point out last week that I went 13-3 in the NFL pick'em. So just to balance it out, I went 4-11 yesterday. So I'm well and truly back to 50-50. I was way bottom of the list in your little pick'em con. No one did very well, but I managed to balance myself back out. So yeah, let's not get carried away. We're going to move on to, where shall we go? 7:40 Eastern first pitch is the Philadelphia Phillies against the Milwaukee Brewers, where Zach Wheeler goes for Philly. Frankie Montas will go for the Brewers. Plus 120 Milwaukee, minus 142 for the Phillies. Total sits at 7.5. Philly became the first team to 90 wins this season with that Real Muto walk-off we just mentioned against the Mets on Sunday night. Philly will be looking to wrap up the division this week. And Zach Wheeler should go a long way to helping them get there. Maximum 2 earned runs in a big list of W's next to his name in his game log. Frankie Montas has done well for the Brewers, particularly since the trade. 8 games he started with a 3.40 ERA. This was tricky for me because I think both pitchers are going to be fine. But the batting metrics, Philly absolutely shared them. 5.6 runs per game in the last 2 weeks against the Brewers 4.3. I tried to look at really lots of different ways to factor the Brewers and Montas into this, but I think I was overcomplicating the Munaf. I think I was trying to be a bit cute. I'm just going to take the Phillies with Wheeler. There's no reason not to. Minus 142 is a good price. Give me the Phillies.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned how dominant Zach Wheeler has been. He hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs since back on his last start at the end of July, which was against the New York Yankees. But even prior to that, you would have to go all the way back to June 16th, where he gave up more than 2 earned runs prior to that Yankee start. So he's just, like I mentioned, been in dominant form. It's just unfortunate that Chris Sale is having a better season slightly than Zach Wheeler for that Cy Young award right now. But again, bigger aspirations, bigger goals for the Philadelphia Phillies, and you want to keep Zach Wheeler as healthy as possible. And Zach Wheeler's been really good to me this season. I've talked about that a lot. Just been dominated, whether it's been in Philadelphia, whether he's been pitching on the road for this team. 13 starts he's made on the road, 5-3 with a 2.99 ERA. Against the Milwaukee Brewers in his career, he's been dominant as well. Frankie Montas, maybe finding some form. I know he'll give up some runs to the opposition. His last start, which was against the Giants in San Francisco in a pitcher's ballpark. I'm not sure how much I'm going to take away from that. But prior to that, give up 3 earned runs to the Rockies. Did have 10 strikeouts in that game. Give up 4 against the Reds, 4 against the Oakland A's here. So, the great point that you mentioned there, Mal, is that they're looking to wrap up the division. And I think that's typically the first thing on the to-do list, right? Is if you're trying to make the playoffs, you want to, number one, get the division checked off. And I think that's a good opportunity for this week for this Phillies team. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with Zach Wheeler here as well on the money line, minus 142. If you want to get some nice plus odds, you could take the minus 1.5 with the Phillies. You get all 9 at-bats since they are the road team here. Or if you want to take a Phillies team total over, just really fading Frankie Montas. But I think this is a good spot here for Zach Wheeler and the Phillies to dominate.
I'm throwing out NFL picks in the comments here, like I've got any idea what I'm talking about. My only concern is people think it might be you, because no MLB gambling podcast, so no one knows who's doing the typing. So just to clear that up, none of this shit's Munaf's. This is all my rubbish. I wouldn't tell me at all. I have a lovely time doing it, but I'm an absolute novice. Munaf will tell you. I was messaging him last night saying, "Give me one more. Just give me one more pick, Munaf. Give me one more pick." 8:40 Eastern first pitch tomorrow night is the Arizona Diamondbacks at the Colorado Rockies. I'm not even sure why I've just read that out because everything's off the board. We were going to handicap the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are TBD, and I've got no idea. Or in fact, possibly Jordan Montgomery for the Diamondbacks. Colorado are TBD, and I think it's Ryan Feltner. The books haven't got this one priced up, but Munaf, I mean, anything catch your eye on this, or can you just steer us where you might be thinking?
Yeah, probably Jordan Montgomery is what we're thinking, or at least I'm thinking here that it gets to start out of the bullpen for the Arizona Diamondbacks. I know they had moved him back in August to the bullpen. So maybe gonna go maybe like 3 to 4 innings here, maybe kind of get his confidence up, but I'm not sure if you want to do that in Colorado. Does have pretty good numbers against Colorado in his career, 2-0 with 3.09 ERA, 16 strikeouts to 3 walks. I think it's is he going tonight for the Rockies? Is Sensatella, or is that on Tuesday night? Let me just double check.
Feltner going
Okay,
tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's
Tuesday.
Feltner. Yeah, you're right. And we know the story with Ryan Feltner, right? Just has not been very good this season, to say the least, for the Colorado Rockies. On the season, 2-10 with a 4.89 ERA. Four of his last 5 starts have actually been pretty good, but the one concern that you do have if you are going to back the Rockies here is that Ryan Feltner doesn't have very good career numbers against the Diamondbacks. In fact, he's faced the Diamondbacks 3 times in his career. He's 0-3 with a 9.00 ERA. Did face him back on March 31st, Mal. 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs. Gave up a home run at 2 walks in that game. And he's allowed at least 3 earned runs in his career to the Arizona Diamondbacks. So if you want to go first 5 innings, team total over for the Diamondbacks, couldn't talk you off of that. It's just a way to fade around Ryan Feltner. I don't think I'm in the camp if it is going to be Jordan Montgomery that I want to back him, despite how good he's been in his career against the Rockies there. So Diamondbacks team total for a game or first 5 innings would be the look for me.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks continue to be a really fun team to bet and watch. Great fight back last night. They had no reason to try and claw back a game at, who were they at? The Brewers last night? I can't remember. They won 11-10. Like
Brewers.
I say, it was the Brewers, yeah. So yeah, that was fun. They activated Gabe Moreno. He's been on the 10-day IL for what seems like forever. I only know this because I've been waiting for him to be activated in one of my fantasy teams. But he's a key piece. He was a real big factor last year in their playoff run as well. So that's a sneaky under the radar addition back to their roster. I hadn't seen Montgomery at the time, but it doesn't affect my pick because I'm happy just to fade Feltner and take an Arizona team total here. He's going along okay. He has shown that he can put up a sequence. His 5 games started in July were really good, 2.51 ERA. And his couple of September starts have been okay, but it's the home starts that are the problem. 6.25 at home.
Yeah.
The Colorado offense is really struggling. In fact, over the last 2 weeks, Colorado 3.2 runs per game to 6.8 for Arizona, more than double. So yeah, that's good enough for me. I'll take an Arizona team total. Next up is the penultimate game. 2 good games to finish out with. We will whiz past the White Sox at the Angels. Good luck betting that one. 9:40 Eastern first pitch is the Houston Astros at the San Diego Padres. Hunter Brown goes for the Astros, and drawing the start for the Friars will be Michael King. Close on the books, -110 the Padres, -106 the Astros. Total is at 7.5. Houston on a nice little winning streak, 4 games now, and scored 5 or more runs in all of those games. Really nice pitching matchup. Hunter Brown had his worst start in ages last time out, where he gave up 5 earned runs against Oakland. Had been on a great run before that. And from his numbers from May onwards encourage me that I can trust him to bounce back here. I don't think he's going to follow that Oakland start up with another bad one. Michael King's last 10 starts, he's given up 3 earned runs once and 2 or fewer in 8 of the other 9. I mean, nothing to pick holes in again. The Padres aren't helping him out much, by the way. They've only scored 9 runs in his last 4 starts. Houston have got the slight offensive edge, but both teams have been good to the over, Munaf, in the last 2 weeks against righties. Houston 5-1, Padres 6-3. That'll do. 7.5 low. I'll take the over.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be one of those games where we do see an offensive explosion for both teams. I'm not sure if it is this one, but Hunter Brown did, like you last season, I should say, had a start against his Padres team. He only lasted 4 1/3, allowed 6 earned runs to the Padres in that game. You mentioned Michael King's number. He's actually been really, really good over his last 10 starts. He is 3-1 in his career against his Houston Astros team, with a 3-1 record with a 2.61 ERA against them. His last appearance was last season, where he did face him 3 times, and I believe that was all out of the bullpen, though. But he did have one start at the end of the year last year, September 3rd, when he was with the Yankees at the time. 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run. He only gave up to the Astros. So, you mentioned the Astros are hot right now and that they have been able to hit the baseball. It was against the Angels there. I think this is a good spot here for the Padres. I feel like I have the better pitcher on the mound with Michael King. You mentioned the Hunter Brown, where he was in really good form, except for this last start against the A's. I'll side with the Padres here, minus 110 on the money line here, but again, I don't love it.
Okay, thank you. Final game on the card that we're going to look at is the 9:40 Eastern first pitch between the New York Yankees and the Seattle Mariners, where Lewis Hill will go for the Yankees and Brian Wu goes for the Mariners, who are plus 104, with the Yankees at minus 122 and the total at 7.5. Did you know, Munaf, this is only the 4th time in MLB history that the 2 starting pitchers have combined to have 6 letters in their surnames. Good fact, isn't it? Also, I completely made that up. That's a load of bollocks. Sorry. I think I could have fooled you with that one, though. That's just simply not true. Aaron Judge, 132 RBIs last night. That's a lot. Is he going to get any more here, Munaf? Can he fire the Yankees to a win?
This is a really good pitching matchup, like you've mentioned. I think the series will be at least pretty good here. The Mariners just had a lot of hype coming into this year. Just haven't been able to perform, honestly. They are now, they're 4.5 games back of the Astros. They really don't have much of a chance they're only 2.5 games back, so we've seen crazier things happen. We still about 13 games left to play. But Brian Wu, let's start there. Been really, really good, especially at home for the Seattle Mariners. He's made 8 starts at T-Mobile Park this season. The Mariners are 8-0 straight up in those games. They won every single game they started at home. They are also 4-1-3 towards the over in those spots. But this is going to be a really good pitching matchup, right? Lewis Hill, like you mentioned, he's been in really good form over his last, at least 3 out of his last 5 starts. I think that when we talk about the Mariners, is the offense going to show up for this team? And I think that's more times that it doesn't show up than it does show up for this team. I'm interested in the total in this game. It'll be more towards the under in the first 5 innings. Outside of Aaron Judge, there's not much that excites you about this offense, right? Obviously, as Juan Soto is there as well. Outside of those 2 guys, it's guys that have been really underwhelming. Gleyber Torres has had flashes. We've seen flashes from Stanton there as well, but they really haven't had that consistency outside of those 2 other guys. But I do feel like, again, going into a pitcher's ballpark here, that this could turn into a little bit of a pitching duel here. I would look at the first 5 innings to go under between these 2 pitchers in Hill and Wu. We know how bad the Yankees bullpen has been over the past couple of weeks, or even over the past month there. So I want to take it out of it. I love the first 5 under. If you're able to find a 4 in this game for that first 5, I would definitely look at the under 4 in this game. As far as the side, if you put a gun to my head, I would look towards the Mariners. I like that plus price at plus 104. It just depends on how long we think Brian Wu's going to be out there, because he's gone at least 6 innings in 4 of his last 5 starts, Mal. And then if the bullpen can hold up at the back end of it once he does come out, I think that they can hold on for a lead here. So I'll take the Mariners on the money line here as far as the side goes.
Yeah, the Mariners is my pick, Munaf, at plus 104. They're coming off their 14th shutout of the season, a league high on Sunday night. So if the pitcher can go well, the bullpen very often holds up for them. Louis Hill had a little short IL stint and has come back with two absolute beauties. He's only given up one earned run in those two low-scoring wins against the Royals and the Cubs. Nice career numbers against Seattle. He's fine on the road. But Brian Moore's very, very good. Always gives the Mariners a chance to win. A 166 home ERA in 8 starts. When you looked at this game, your instinct was right. Everything told you that this was going to be tight, low scoring, and hard to split. But Seattle are hitting well in the last 2 weeks. And it's hard to ignore Woo's home numbers. The bullpen's fine. And the Yankees bullpen ERA over the last couple of weeks, 4.71, might just be the difference when we're talking about a game where one run's going to separate this in the 7th or 8th inning. Yeah. So Seattle plus 104, I think, are a little value underdog. Munaf, just checking briefly around the rest of the card. I mean, we looked at the White Sox, Angels. There's nothing much going on there. Pirates and Cardinals doesn't particularly blow my skirt up. Jordan Wicks pitched well recently. Also, no, he didn't. In fact, he got blew up last week for the in that game against the Dodgers. I saw you moonlight on another channel handicapping that. Don't think I don't watch you, Moon Off, by the way, because I'm consuming everything. So you make one false step and I will be all over you like a rash. But that cashed in the 3rd inning, that over. So Jordan Wicks goes tomorrow against the Oakland Athletics, who've been struggling a little bit. But Oakland are always a funky underdog. And then Boston Red Sox at the Tampa Bay Rays. The fact that we're not talking about either of those two teams in the 2nd week in September, Munaf, tells you how they've been going. So, I mean, rest of the card, anything or nothing?
No, not much. I mean, you mentioned it that the two teams in that AL East, the Red Sox and the Rays, I think that division is going to be just a fun one going into the future, right? Because you expect the Red Sox to get better. The Baltimore Orioles are still a young team, and we know the Yankees are going to spend money as well. And then you have the Toronto Blue Jays in there. So, yeah, not much else. I mean, I think we covered the main games there. Nothing else really stood out to me. I mean, you mentioned the Cubs there as well, but other than that, yeah, nothing else.
Okay, then lock and dog, mate. What have you got?
Yeah, let's go lock and dog here for the Tuesday card here. I'll start with the lock. A couple of ways we can go here. I do like the over 9.5. If you're able to find a 9 for that Dodgers and the Marlins game, if it is Bobby Miller, it looks like it is going to be. But regardless, I mentioned the numbers there for the for the Marlins at home this season. Been one of the more profitable teams towards the over 72.9%. And now you have the Dodgers coming to town who could possibly get all 10 runs on their own here. So Bobby Miller or no Bobby Miller, I think the Dodgers offense has success. And if it is Bobby Miller, you know that the Miami Marlins are going to be able to get some runs off of him as well. So I think it's a good opportunity for the over to get to the window here between the Dodgers and the Marlins. So whether I'm sure a 9 will be out there, definitely shop around for it. But if it is 9.5, I'm still comfortable with that as far as my lock. For my dog, it's either the Phillies on the run line or it's either the Mets on the run line. The injury to Lindor makes me nervous.
Yeah, that's the problem, Muna.
Right, because he's been by far their best hitter, and Mitchell Parker, as on the road we mentioned, hasn't been very good. So I'll go with the Phillies here. It is a small puppy dog on the run line, -1.5, +115. I've mentioned Zach Wheeler. He's been really good to me this season, and you mentioned him out. I think you made a great point on the handicap there that this is the opportunity for the Phillies to lock up the NL East division and clinch their spot into the playoffs. And no better way to start that, not only on Monday night, but also behind your ace on Tuesday night with Zach Wheeler and the Philadelphia Phillies bats there. So I'll go the Phillies run line, -1.5, +115 as my dog.
Oh, well, I'm going to stay there, Moon, and take that as my lock on the money line. Phillies at -142. Zach Wheeler, Phillies motivated and obviously very good. I think Wheeler -142 is a great price. Leaving me with my dog, and I was looking at the Mets on the run line, but it is the Lindor thing. You're absolutely right. Only problem is that doesn't leave me much. I've got loads of teeny tiny dogs. I quite like the Reds at even money. I quite like the Mariners at plus 104. But none of that's going to make you rich. I'll stick my neck out. I'll go for the big one, the big dog. Miami, plus 154. We're taking on Bobby Miller, Munaf. I mean,
Yeah.
why not?
Kentucky off.
And like I say, our friend McCorkin has been all right. And Miami have won his last 3 starts. So let's carry on that sequence, make it 4 in a row at plus 154. And finally, Munaf, we have got dingers. Pick us someone to leave the yard tomorrow.
Yeah, I like somebody from the Diamondbacks to hit one, whether it's, I know Christian Walker did make his return for the Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean, you have Eugenio Suarez, you have Corbin Carroll in there. I think it's probably gonna be Corbin Carroll for me. I just feel like this Arizona. I mean, you mentioned the numbers, how great their offense has been recently, and honestly, over the course of the month. I just feel like they're going to continue putting up runs here. We saw what they were doing against Milwaukee there as well. So let's go Corbin Carroll. Why not? Let's go support a short lad like me to hit one out of the fence over in Coors Field there, and especially in altitude. That'll only help him, obviously.
Fair enough. So might go off menu here. We were just talking about Oakland. Oh, left-handed pitcher. I was looking at a couple of the Oakland players.
You got to go with your guy Jake Berger. Come on.
Yeah, well, yeah, that mate, actually. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That would be remiss of me not to pick Jake Berger. Yeah, you're absolutely, yeah. Munaf is correct. I've just talked about wanting to fade Bobby Miller, so we can fade him double bubble. We can get the Miami win at plus 154 behind a 2-home run night from Jake Berger. Munaf, let's get 2 of them. Yeah, well spotted. Thank you for turning me on to him. He owes me a few quid. It wasn't the worst 150 to 1 shot I've ever backed, because I think he's probably on par to hit quite a few more, but he was injured. So let's get paid out tomorrow with that. Munaf, that was lots of fun. Anything else happening? Anything you want to tell the people about?
No, just, winding down like we mentioned, the MLB season, and we'll do obviously all the playoff previews and such. So hang with us. If you haven't already subscribed to the MLB Gambling Podcast YouTube channel, please do it and do so. We're trying our very, very best to get to 2,500 by the end of the World Series there. So we have a little, contest going on, I should say, with the bosses, that they challenge us to get to 2,500 subscribers. And if we do that, they'll get us to a bonus for us. So again, I'm trying to get the updated number here, Mal. But if you have anything, I'll try to get the updated number.
I think it's 2130.
Yeah, all right, so we're 370 away. That's doable.
That's doable, yeah. Yeah, I'll get some of my strange children to sign up. That should get us 100 or so closer. Thanks, Munaf. That was loads of fun. The chat was live and kicking, as always. Like I say, today I did get, it was my first playoff baseball tingle. So yeah, it's got me going for October baseball. Back tomorrow in some shape or form. Just look out for the scheduling on YouTube. We appreciate it. Good luck with all your bets, everybody, and we will see you down the road. Cheers.